And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Okay, here's the storm bringing the wind and rain into the western interior. The front weakening as it pushes eastward here, starting to spread some light rain, actually for tomorrow here in across south central Alaska, and very windy conditions here for the central eastern Aleutians on the south side of this low center. And then for Sunday, that low really weakens and moves inland here. Lighter winds, higher pressure building over the Bering Sea. The next system down here to the south, taking off to the east for Monday. And rain, south central Alaska, rain much of the central and western part of the state, right up to the north slope, and it stays dry for the panhandle, mostly dry for the eastern interior. Coastal water forecast there along the central and south coast for tomorrow. Northwest winds 10 to 20 knots with seas 5 to 6 feet. Light variable conditions for the north coast. And over the inside channels, central northern areas, light variable winds. Clarence Strait, wind northwest at 15 knots. And for the day on Sunday, we've got variable winds here for the north coast at 10 knots. And winds west-northwest 10 to 15 knots for the south coast. South at 10 for Lynn Canal, west at 10 for Stevens Passage, and northwest at 10 for Clarence Strait. Prince William Sound, eastern North Gulf Coast, again, winds light and variable tomorrow at 10 knots, south 15 for the western North Gulf Coast. Cook Inlet, not too bad, south-southwest breeze at 10 to 15 knots, 20-knot winds from the south and southeast for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. And then for Sunday, for Cook Inlet, south winds 10 to 15 knots, south winds 20 knots for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. And for the North Gulf Coast, south to southeasterlies at 15 knots, Prince William Sound, southeast at 15. Kodiak Island for Saturday, south wind 20 to 25 knots. Got good small craft advisories here for the remainder of the areas. The Alaska Peninsula, 25 to 30 knots right out of the south, southeast 30 knots. Seas 6 feet for Bristol Bay. And then for Sunday, for the Alaska Peninsula, west winds 20 to 25 knots, seas 6 to 10 feet. Bristol Bay, southwest at 20, seas 7 feet. Kodiak Island, south to southwest wind 20 knots, 4 to 6 foot seas. Gale warnings for the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, southwest winds 35 to 40 knots. Adak and Atka, gale warnings, west winds 40 knots. Gale warnings out to Amchitka Island, and then small craft advisories there from Kiska to Shemya for west-northwesterlies at 25. And for the day on Sunday, gale warnings coming in here for the western Aleutians. Out of the east now, that system down to the south, 35 to 40 knots, and southeast winds here 30 to 35 knots for Adak and Atka. And for the eastern Aleutians, south to west winds 30 to 35 knots. And for the southwest coast tomorrow, south of Nunivak Island, gale warning, southeast winds 35 knots, south at 20 for the Pribilofs. Back to gales for St. Matthew Island, northeast 35, southeast 25 for the Yukon Delta coast. East winds 25 knots, 5 foot seas, St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound. And then for Sunday, Norton Sound, south at 15 knots, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta coast. Northwest at 20, west wind 20 knots for Kamishak Bay. Northwest at 30 for the Pribilofs, and west winds at 25 knots with 8 foot seas for St. Matthew Island. And then for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, we've got south to southwest wind at 10 to 15 knots. South at 20 knots for the central and western Arctic coast here, then Chukchi Sea, east winds at 15 knots. And then we got north winds, 15 to 20 knots of the Chukchi Sea on Sunday, with seas about 3 to 4 feet. Northeast 15, 3 foot seas for the western Arctic coast. And the central and eastern Beaufort Sea coastline, not too bad. 10 knot winds from the south and southeast with seas only at 2 feet.